common motherfucking sense, aka the soul of Andromeda, the night of Venus. And I don't know about you, but for me, growing up, the teachers that I liked the most in elementary school and even in high school, the teachers that I fucked with the most were hard asses. The teachers I fucked with the most were strict. The teachers that I fucked with the most were those same exact teachers you can imagine those loudmouth children or rebellious students arguing with. You know what I'm saying? You know those teachers who always got at least one person, if not multiple, if not the whole class, hating them? Yeah, those were the teachers I fucked with. For many different reasons. One of the reasons is, you know what I'm saying, I see so much of me in them. I see so much of them being hard in their ability to express and communicate and give off knowledge, give off wisdom. I see myself in them not giving a fuck because they know that at the end of the day, it's the wisdom, it's the teachings that matter, not so much how it's being taught. Although, you know what I'm saying, it doesn't mean that it doesn't matter, but those hard teachers, they know, you know what I'm saying, they know that they like the fucking the coaches, you know what I'm saying, for the athletes or whatever. Or more so tying into this whole spiritual warfare shit. Those hard teachers be the exact ones that symbolize the general. You understand? Well, you know what it takes to be a fucking general? I ain't seen no soft ass general before. Generals be hard. Generals seen shit. Generals have been through a whole lot of hard shit to get to that position of being a general in the first place. And then when they get up there giving you your orders, giving you your commands, they're not telling you in no soft way. They can give a fuck about how you feel. Get this shit done. These are your duties and obligations. See it through. You know what I'm saying? I give you the tools that you need. I'll give you the resources to make sure that you can do it successfully. But you caring about it and all that, fuck that. I don't give a fuck. This is what it is and this is how it's going to get done. That's what the generals understand. That's what the spiritual leaders understand. That's what the motherfucking hard teachers in school understand. You know what I'm saying? So if you got a hard ass teacher, go easy on them. You know what I'm saying? Try to look at it from a different perspective. Understand that they're helping you. They're building you up to be that general later on in life. You know what I'm saying? That's not always the case. There are some dickhead teachers out there. There are teachers who just are assholes for no reason at all. Or there are reasons, but personal reasons. You know what I'm saying? They're assholes because of shit that they didn't deal with in their own personal lives. You know what I'm saying? Assholes because of their own traumas that they didn't address. But that's a different conversation. I'm not talking about those types of teachers. I'm talking about the teachers who are hard and know they're hard because that is the way to build you up. Which leads me into the point of this conversation. You understand? It's talking about this whole thing of being built up to reach a certain level of success. Now, for the past 4 or 5 minutes now, I was talking about mean teachers. Teachers that, you know, people don't like. But honestly, I'm talking about opposition in general. You know what I'm saying? If you know anything about astrology, you know that opposition is one of the most powerful aspects in astrology. You know what I'm saying? One of the most information-rich aspects, one of the most key ingredients to learning how this world works, or more specifically, how you can work in this world. A lot of people like to tie your squares to being the things that teach you things about life, or the square aspect in astrology represents the things that you have to learn from. And that's not wrong. When we start looking at the opposition in the way that I just broke it down, right? In the allegory of a mean teacher. You oppose mean teachers. You know what I'm saying? No one wants to be taught something in a way that is, non-catering to your comfort, to your emotions. You know what I'm saying? Like if someone is teaching you something and you're not even able to feel comfortable in the way that they're teaching, then you're not going to receive the teachings. You know what I'm saying? That's where mean teachers can go wrong. Is that you can't be that way to everyone because not everyone is going to be receptive of it. That doesn't mean that there isn't still, benefits to it. Once you start understanding the oppositions of life, the oppositions of your birth chart, the opposition of having a mean teacher in general, you understand that really, at the end of the day, it's tough love. It's tough love. AKA, yeah, it hurts. It hurts right now. It doesn't feel good. It's not comfortable. You know what I'm saying? It's the opposite of soft. It's hard. It's tough. But at the end of the day, it's still love. It's still nourishing. You know what I'm saying? It's still giving you nutrients to grow in other aspects of life. This is what the opposition represents. This is what the mean teacher represents. It is putting you in those moments of hardship to force you to learn. Now, the great thing about this is when you get put in those situations, right? And you get forced to learn through those hard circumstances. The craziest thing of it all, and the hard teachers know this already, but the craziest thing of it all is that it's actually that experience that is teaching you. You know what I'm saying? Not any other helping hands, not someone who's coming to give you advice and then you take that advice. No. It's the experience that's helping you. Because without that experience, you would have never even sought advice in the first place to get help. You would have never asked for a helping hand in the first place. You see what I'm saying? Without that experience that pushed you into the dark, you wouldn't have had the idea to go and, change. You wouldn't even know where to start. You get the fuck I'm saying? Like, it's the experience that's the starting point that pushes you into that realm of understanding. AKA that hardship, the struggles, the shadows, for all the people who understand shadow work. But here's the thing, though. Here's the crazy part. This is what I wanted to say. And this is what the hard teachers know. Is that once you receive all of those negative experiences, and once you go through it, regardless of if you actually do take the initiative to go ask someone for help or get a helping hand, whether you do or not, you still have to figure that shit out yourself. Because let's say someone does give you a helping hand. Well, now it's up to you whether or not you take their advice. It's up to you whether or not you apply it. Now, let's go in the other way, the obvious way. Let's say you don't get their help. Let's say you don't ask for a helping hand. Okay. Well, now you for sure, most certainly have to figure it out by yourself. All alone. So yeah, it's the actual circumstances that teach you all of this, because all of this comes from you, no one else. You know what I'm saying? That's why going through negative situations always feels so alone anyway. Even if you're going through it with other people. And yeah, they might lighten the ride a little bit and take some of those baggages off of your load to make the transition easier. But even still, in those dark moments, you will find instances of feeling alone. And that's because that's the point. That's the purpose. You have to figure this shit out alone. That is your power. You're not going to understand your power until you discover it and use it. You going through certain situations and negative, situations and shit like that. You using other people's power is never going to get you to your own power. And this is what hard teachers know. This is what Saturn knows. And more importantly, this is what the opposition in astrology is trying to tell you. The things that you oppose, or should I say the things that are opposing you, are actually giving you a stepping block, a stepping stone, the ability to step onto that opposition and use it as a foundation to something, to build you up. Do you get what I'm trying to say here? Let's look at even more on an astrological standpoint, right? If we know that Saturn is the planet of the 10th house, the 10th house represents your status, the way the world sees you. Ultimately, that can be equated to your career, right? All of those things play in the realm of building up on something. You don't just get a career. You get a job and you work at that job until you can build a career out of it. Whether it's a job around your passions or it's a job that you just went out into the world and got from the shadow government. Different conversation though. It all still deals with building upon something to reach a status. Status in and of itself. In order to get a status, you have to build at something. Even if it's a negative status, even if you have the status of a shitty person, you had to do a whole lot of esoteric building in order for that to manifest. You didn't just become a shitty person. It took multiple steps at a time, multiple bricks upon bricks, multiple actions before people can see it, before you can be seen as a shitty person, using that example. See what I'm saying? So, all that being Capricorn, all that being Saturn, all that being the 10th house, let's look at it using the planets now, right? Let's look at Mars. Mars is exalted in Capricorn. Mars is exalted in the 10th house. In other words, Mars' highest point, the highest way for Mars to manifest itself is in the realm of Saturn, in the realm of Capricorn, in the realm of structure, business, organization, building something. Now, Mars represents Aries, Scorpio, but more specifically tied into this video, Mars represents your passions, your motivations, your willpower, your drive, your sexual energy, aka your energy of creating things, or more so, what is sexual energy, right? Using two opposing keyword. Sex is using two opposing energies to create one. Now, there's many ways to do this. Don't even think about it in just a physical way. You know what I'm saying? When you bring thoughts and imaginations, when you create art, when you do anything creative, you're having sex, believe it or not. Maybe not physically. What do you think you're doing? What do you think the process of creation is in the first place? What do you think procreation means? But yeah, going back to what I'm saying though, right? Looking at Mars being a representative of all of these things. When you place your passions in the realm of building something, aka when you build upon your passions, or when you put your motivations in the realm of structuring things, aka when you structure around your motivations instead of just having aimless motivations. When you put it in that aspect, then you start to see all the benefits that Saturn are trying to give you, all the benefits that Mars are trying to give you, aka the malefics. A lot of people in astrology say that Mars and Saturn are negative planets. But when you really look at them for what they truly are, it's really not negative or positive. Because you can get positive things from these things too. Just like you can get negative things from Venus. Look at the exaltation of Venus and tell me, does that all sound positive to you? Yet they can't wait to tell you Venus is a benefic planet. And I'm the knight of Venus. I can sit here and tell you Venus has this light and dark. Where do you think the knight of Venus came from? I'm in the dark right now. God damn it. I know what the fuck I'm talking about. This shit ain't no game. It's not no fucking coincidence. But that being said, if we know that light and dark exist in all realms, if we know that all of these things has its pros and cons, then looking at bad or good doesn't mean shit anyway. It cancels out. If pros and cons are in everything, then they're in nothing. You get what I'm trying to say? That's the illusion. So it really doesn't matter. There's no point in getting lost in that. Trying to figure out what's right and what's wrong. What's right for you, motherfucker? That's what you need to be focusing on, not everything else. Because it's going to change. What's right for you is going to change for me. What is light to you might be dark to me. I know this is a dark video right now, but in my mind, I'm on here saying the lightest shit that I can say. I'm on some light ass shit. I'm probably going over, I'm so light, I'm going over people's heads right now. You did? But back to the original topic at hand, right? Mars and Saturn being the malefics, being the signs or the planets that represent opposition in general. When we see how these planets actually start to react and respond in the birth chart, in the natal chart, or just the zodiac wheel in general, and then we relate that to our real world, we can see that opposition really isn't such a bad thing. And in fact, we need opposition to get to that next step. And that brings me to the actual point that I want to talk about right now. You know what I'm saying? And because like Saturn wouldn't even be Saturn if it wasn't for the exaltation of Mars. Capricorn wouldn't even be Capricorn if it wasn't for Mars feeling its highest vibrations in the 10th house. You understand? Us as humans, as a society, as a collective, wouldn't even understand the benefits of civilization, of cities, of building things, if it wasn't for Mars, if it wasn't for opposition, rebellion, going against something, having an opposing force. And I know this is crazy because it's gonna sound like I'm backing these things, but I'm not. You know what I'm saying? It's all spiritual warfare. But let's just look at the cities. Look at the way the world is structured right now. Wherever there's a city, or not even just a city, you know what I'm saying? Because there's towns and shit like that. There's country. Let's start with countries, right? Let's just go with the countries. Wherever there's an established country, aka civilization, you best believe there was war to get there, aka Mars. Wherever you see Saturn, Mars is also present in its history. I just want to get that out there. Now, in terms of being opposed, right? In terms of being the leader, you know what I'm saying? Because that's another thing that Mars represents. Mars represents Aries. the first sign of the zodiac, the leader. So again, tying back into this allegory, if Mars, the leader, feels its best in the place of Saturn, structuring things, building things, and status, right? If the leader feels its best in that area, then you need to question whatever leader does not feel best in that area and really question, are they a leader you want to be following? AKA, if this person does not have the intentions of structuring something, eventually, if they don't have the intentions of building upon something, eventually, ask yourself, is this really a leader? Is this person who looks at people who have high status and tries to shoot them down? Because if so, ask yourself, is this person truly a leader? Ask yourself that, because that's another thing, that's another problem that I have with the spiritual community. Not even just the spiritual community, but the urban community. You know what I'm saying? Shout out to all my people who from the hood. You know what I'm saying? I'm fucked with you the long way if you into this spiritual shit. But, black people especially, because of the circumstances that we were placed in. But not even just black people, people of poverty, people who weren't born with a whole lot of money, because I see it in all races. I do see it in all races. People who don't have a certain amount of status. Anyone who does have that status, they automatically look at them as evil. People who don't have money, anytime someone does get rich and gets the fuck out of that place that doesn't have any money or whatever, you can't wait to look at them as being evil. Talk about how you get all that money. You must have done something evil. You must have done something negative because I don't have any money. Think about that line of reasoning for a minute. Now, like I said, I'm not getting on here backing this shit. I'm not saying that there aren't people with money that aren't evil. But I also said let's not get wrapped up into this whole idea of, right and wrong in the first place. Didn't I say that? Let's not get trapped in this whole movie, this whole comic book story, aka it's just a creation, a narrative. Let's not get caught up in this narrative between the hero and the villain. And let's remember that we are the observer of the story. We're the ones reading the story. And it's up to us to decide which one is our favorite character. Do you understand? But back to what I'm trying to say though. The people who can't wait to shoot down the people with status, yet also in the same breath want to be someone with status, they're lost. They're lost. They don't know what path they're really on, because they're on the path that they're demonizing. So doesn't that mean that they're going to end up becoming a demon too? And I'm using that word as just an allegory. I hope y'all understand what I'm saying. So to all the people that's out there that, that's trying to spread some game, spread some wisdom, whatever, you got to be willing to be opposed. You got to be willing to be challenged. And I even did a little quick video on that too. Talking about, and I did a little short video on that too, talking about the actual value of being challenged, aka arguing or having someone argue against you. And that's what so many of us get wrong in the first place. You can't be a leader if you don't know how to argue. Let's look at all the world leaders that we know now. Let's look at all the presidents. What is politics if they're not arguing against each other? Let's look at the social leaders, the cultural leaders. Martin Luther King. He was arguing. Now, the way he argued was very different from how someone like Malcolm X argued. But they had arguments to bring to the culture. And whenever someone had an argument against them, they didn't run away from it. They saw it as an opportunity to build. Because without that argument in the first place, they would have nothing to build upon. Didn't I say that? Without racism, there would be nothing for Martin Luther King to oppose in the first place. Are you starting to see it now? So if you are a leader and people are opposing you, don't run, don't block their account. Take that as an opportunity to spread your knowledge, to spread your game, to get more of what the fuck you need to build on. You got a passion, right, that you're here to express, and someone's opposing you. Use that as an opportunity to build more on your passions. I mean, unless that's not really your intentions. If you tell me you don't have a passion that you want to build on, if you're telling me you don't have some game that you're trying to build on, yet you telling me you want to be a leader, I had to take my glasses off and hit the L for that one. Because I don't trust you now. You see what I'm saying? A real leader has the ability to be challenged by the people, to prove themselves. You know what I'm saying? People on here, people these days, they just can't wait to pretend like they got some game. And the moment you come up here giving some opposite game, they don't know how to respond. They don't know how to react. As a matter of fact, they feel their status being challenged. So what do? They run, they hide, and they block you. And what else does Saturn represent? Blocks and limitations. The moment you feel like you need to block someone, and I'm not talking about because they on some weirdo shit sending you so much. I'm talking about when someone is challenging you and you feel like you need to block them. Take a step back. Understand, is this you using Saturn from a place of negative vibration? Because Saturn in the high vibration understands Mars, aka opposition. You get what I'm trying to say? And I'm not saying you can't. I'm not saying don't block people who need to be blocked. That's not what I'm trying to say. I'm talking about the motherfuckers who out here preaching some shit or teaching some shit or trying to be a fucking leader. Yet they can't ever have no opposition. They can't never have no opposers. I invite you to challenge me to my knowledge. I invite it. As a matter of fact, this video, you can see me. I've already challenged people who challenge me, and I'm continue to go on it. I don't block that shit. I don't run away from that shit. I don't do what the fuck y'all do with that shit. Listen, man. The people who are opposing you are just teaching you something. And they probably not even teaching you in something where they're right about something. They can be just giving you more ways to see your own perspective. And now you know your own shit that much more. Now you got that much more knowledge. Now you have that much more wisdom. Now you can do even more building. You get what the fuck I'm saying, man? Don't be afraid of your motherfucking challengers. Take that shit head on. Head on. Common motherfucking sense.